I mean, it is one of those shows where you watch it and one episode after the other, and the next thing you know, you've watched the whole season.
Totally,
And you're like, how did that,
totally.
how did that happen? It was kind of like a combination of live theater and film and TV, which presented its own challenges. But I don't know. I remember having so much fun. But if it wasn't a creative job, ooh, a part of me just would want to be, I don't know, like maybe like a nomad.
Hello everyone and hello who joined and watches that video. I'm Vincent from Random Podcast Tech, and today I start a new chapter on my page because today I start making interviews with actors. My today's special guest is Agape from the cast of Ginny and Georgia. Hello Agape again.
Hello, hello, how are you?
I'm fine, a little bit tired. How are you also?
Not bad, not bad. I got up maybe a couple hours ago, so just waking up.
So I will have long questions, but I really hope that these will be interesting. I'm not big series or movie killer, but sometimes when I just watch a series like Ginny and Georgia, I guess
Mhm.
I saw a couple of scenes from the series and I was like, okay, I had to watch all the series and all the episodes because it's so exciting and I didn't
Mhm.
mind it. So about the beginning, how did the opportunity come to Ginny and Georgia to you? So were you approached or did you apply for just like, it's casting or something similar?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, it is one of those shows where you watch it and one episode after the other, and the next thing you know, you've watched the whole season.
Totally,
And you're like, how did that
totally.
how did that happen? Um, but I joined in season two, and I auditioned for it. There was a role out there for Bracia's boyfriend, and yeah, I remember I was in Vancouver visiting, and I sent in a tape, and a few weeks later, I get a call saying, "Hey, like they really like you. They want to offer you the role." And so yeah, it was just before season two. So I wasn't part of season one, and then I did my homework, and then same thing. I don't know why. When I first when the show first came out, season one, I never watched it, and then because I just didn't think it would be for me, and then when I get the role, I watched the first couple episodes, and I'm like, this is really good, because I remember it was trending on Twitter. Everyone was talking about it when it first came out, and then yeah, when I finally started watching it, I was like, okay, this is really really good. And then so when I first arrived on set, it was kind of weird because I was coming on as a fan of the show as well, and so I was seeing all the cast, and I'm like, oh my god, like that's Ginny, that's Georgia, that's Maxine, that's so yeah, it was fun, exciting that way.
And what was your initial reaction when you found out that you got the role of Brian?
I was insanely excited, and I was also scared because it's a big show. Like a lot of people love it, and so I was like, okay, I have to like step up and kind of bring my A game. But and also, yeah, it was also because after when I first initially got it, I was very very excited, and then after I'd watched it and become a fan, I became very nervous because then I was like, oh, now I'm like, I don't know, like, oh, now I'm a fan. I'm walking on as a fan of the show, and so it's kind of different because then you're meeting everyone, and you're nervous to meet everyone because you've seen an entire season of their work. And so, yeah, it was a mixture of like excitement and like a bit of scaredness.
And what was the hardest part of bringing your character to life, and how did you prepare for it? So, for example, was there any unexpected challenge that surprised you?
Not necessarily. I mean, I feel like going into it, the biggest fear I had was they had already done a season before, and so I was kind of like the new kid in school, and the first like maybe minute or two, it felt that way because I think my first day was also everyone's first day back. And so everyone is, it's like, when you take a break from school and you come back and you're like, what did you do in the summer? And like, you kind of exchange those stories. And I think it had been maybe 2 years since they'd shot season one. So there a lot of time had passed, COVID had happened, and so everyone was kind of like happy to see each other again. And so for the first maybe minute or two, the fear was just more so just like, oh, like everyone already knows each other, like, I'm the new kid, I just have to focus on my work. And then literally like a minute or two in, someone came up to me and they were like, "Oh my God, hi, what's your name?" And then like everyone ended up like they were so welcoming. Um, Everyone just ended up being super, super nice and very like, "Come on, join in. Like, what have you been up to? Like tell us about yourself." And so building those relationships like immediately really helped kind of build those relationships on screen as well. Um, because a lot of the high school kids in the show obviously spend a lot of the time together. So I think it was really important to quickly kind of develop those relationships.
Who was your first friend from the cast?
So the very, very first person that said hi to me was Chelsea, who plays Nora. But I would say I got really close to Tamika, who plays Bracia, because, she's my love interest in the show. And so we spent some time hanging out off screen as well, just so we can get to know each other and also develop that chemistry. But yeah, even to this day, we still chat like when we're not shooting. So I'd say probably Tamika, but I mean, everyone's great.
In what ways are you similar to your character and what are the main differences? So, for example, were there moments when you felt you were really in sync with your character?
I'd say we're different more so because he's also a football player, and it's it's kind of funny because we were kind of opposites because he was a football player that went into theater, whereas I was a theater kid who I remember one year in grade nine I played rugby and I hated it because I was just not an athlete, but it was to impress a girl. So I did the opposite. I played rugby to impress a girl when really what I wanted to do is theater, whereas Brian is a football player who did theater to impress a girl. So I'd say like I guess our similarities are we would do anything to impress a girl. But yeah, I mean, and then he takes a liking to it. He turns out to be pretty good at it. So I'd say, I don't know, I guess our interests for theater and like extracurricular activities, but our difference is definitely I don't think I could play football.
Guess the whole series have lots of serious topics like the acceptance of the students or carrying with mental problems, and
Mhm.
how could you relate to the themes of the series, and were there any scenes or situations that touched you personally?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like for me, it's been about almost 10 years since I've been in high school. So I feel like now the conversations about mental health and certain things that a lot of kids are dealing with are becoming a bit more open versus even 10 years ago, they weren't as, people would talk about it, but it wouldn't be as accepted maybe as it is now. Um, which is something I think that's really, really good to see the change happening, kids not being more uh, able to just talk about how they feel and what's going on. And I think the show kind of gives license to people. I think any show or any form of media that celebrates talking about mental health and offers ways to deal with it is really important. Um, I think for myself, yeah, I think I've moved around a few times in my life. I was originally born in Southern Africa, then I moved to Canada when I was about almost 11. And so the theme that Ginny and her brother and, Georgia deal with in terms of moving town and kind of setting up a new life, I kind of resonate with that as well. Um, I mean, obviously, way that the reasons for their moving and the way that they move is very, very different from my life. But yeah, just kind of wanting to belong and wanting to be accepted by um, your new environment is something that I resonated with. But yeah, I think the show deals with a lot of themes that should be talked about, and I think the writers do a very good job of navigating those themes as well.
Was there any memorable moment during filming that you would like to share?
I think, well, for season two, because I can't really say too much about season three. For season two, I think one of the most fun things was shooting the musical. Um, I'd never really had a chance because again, I grew up doing musicals and musical theater, and I'd never had the chance to do it on screen. And so it was kind of like a combination of live theater and film and TV, which presented its own challenges. But I don't know. I remember having so much fun. Like you put on the costume, and
Yeah.
you have like an audience there, which partial cast. You have Ginny in there and a few of the other high school kids, and then you have like extras there as well. And it feels like you're actually doing theater. It feels like you're doing a real life performance. So I think just it was weird because you get different nerves when you perform live because film and TV, they cut and then they're like, okay, let's try that again. Let's do this again. And we did that as well. But the nerves felt almost the same as doing theater because you're like, oh my God, like there's a full audience and we're on stage. And so I'd say that was probably one of the more memorable things about filming because it just took me back to when I was a kid doing musical theater. And yeah, it brought back those really fun, scary, exciting feelings. Yeah, it's probably one of my favorite things.
How often do you look back at your own scenes, and are there any that you would reshoot if you had the chance?
Ooh, I haven't looked back since since I was preparing for season three, just to kind of like get a refresher, which I guess is early this year. Um, and if there are any I would reshoot, I really enjoyed the scene where me and Bracia are in the musical rehearsals, and uh, it was just a really funny because I remember it was the one of the same scenes I used for my audition. It was we were she said something was wrong with her neck or her back, and then I start massaging it, and then someone else says there's something wrong, and I go off to massage them too, and she's just like, "What?" That was just a really fun day, and I feel like that was one of the days when it was like, oh, okay, cool. Like we're starting to get along, just even off screen, like hanging out in the green room. We were just like talking, having fun. And then another one I would pick is, um, oh, the day we shot. There's a song in the musical called "Marriage Is a Dungeon,"
So
and
iconic.
so good. I would literally go back just so I can see them do it live again because because Sarah and Tamika are just so good together, and I would go back just so I can see them do that again.
Why do you think viewers love the show so much, and what do you think is its what's the biggest message of the show, and what do you think resonates most with audiences and keeps them coming back for more?
Oh, that's a good question. Um, I think it's different for the type of viewer. So, for example, for someone who's like maybe around my age, like mid to late 20s, you resonate with it because a lot of you kind of remember yourself and you see yourself back in those times.
Yeah.
You watch the show and you're like, oh, I remember when I had those kind of problems, or I remember when that was when girls or whatever was the biggest problem in my life, or one of the biggest problems in my life. And then for younger viewers, I think again seeing the characters deal with things that they might be dealing with in real time. I think that is a huge reason why the show resonates with people that might be either currently in high school or early 20s, because it's so real to them. It's so what's the word? Tangible. It's yeah, it's you're watching it and you're like, oh my God, yeah, this is happening to me right now, or this is happening to my friend, or um, and I think one of the biggest themes this show deals with is obviously the mother-daughter dynamic, um, what a mother will really do for her children, and I guess also because Ginny sees her mom also as a person, which I feel like kids don't really see. We don't really see our parents as people until we're older, and then we kind of understand what they have done to give us the life that we have. Ginny sees that very early, so I feel like just kind of seeing your parents as a person early on in life and then seeing what a parent will really do for their child. I think those are um, maybe not themes per se, but certain things that the show kind of deals with. And I feel like that's also maybe why parents watching the show can also resonate with it because they're like, yeah, I would do all that for my child. I would do all that for my family. I would protect my family. You know, I would do anything to protect my family. So I feel like that it touches on different generations because people see themselves in it. And that's why it's gotten so big.
How has being on the show affected your career and for your future project? Has it also had an impact on your personal life or the way people perceived you?
Yeah, I mean, I think I can easily say this is probably the biggest show I've done so far. And I didn't realize how big it was until the day it premiered on Netflix. And I was just going to the store, and then this guy was just like, "You look really familiar." And I was like, "I don't know. It's a store I go to like maybe once or twice a week." So I was like, "Maybe, no, maybe you've just seen me around." He's like, "No, no, 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 no. Like, you look like really familiar. Like, do you act or anything?" And I was like, "Oh, yeah, yeah, like I do." And I still hadn't even like thought about it being because of Ginny and Georgia. I'm just like, "Yeah, yeah, I do. Like, a few shows every now and then." And then he's just like, "Oh, were you on that show with that girl and her mom?" And I was like, "Oh, yeah, yeah. Like it just came out today." And he's like, "Yeah, yeah, no. Me and my girlfriend were watching it last night. Like the second it dropped, we just like binged it." And I was like, "Wow." Like the show had maybe come out in like less than 24 hours, and you already have people who binged as much as they could in that time. Um, and then from that point on, it was more so just like like people recognizing me from that show, and um, yeah, it's I mean it's cool, but at the same time, then now you're hyper aware every time you go outside. You're like, okay, like all right, we gotta, people, I don't know, just people might see you, recognize you from the show, so it creates that kind of hyper awareness. But I mean, it's always really cool when people recognize you for your work. So I'm really grateful for that.
How many reactions did you get, or what kind of feedbacks did you get from the audience?
I mean, I think I'm fortunate enough where my storyline is not very controversial. So it was for the most part very actually all very positive. Everyone's like, "Oh, you guys are so cute. What happens in season 3? Do you guys like get together? Like what?" So it was more so just people wondering where the relationship goes, and people I think the really cute thing about mine and Bracious storyline is it's almost like a bit of light in a lot of really heavy real themes, and so I think it's one of those storylines where people can follow and kind of have a bit of hope and um yeah and just like a bit of levity in a way, even though season 3 might see some roller coasters, but it's I mean it's nothing compared to killing husbands and all that kind of stuff. So I feel like it does provide a bit of levity in that way. So for the most part, the audience reaction is just very like, oh, so sweet. Like I wonder what happens. So I mean, that's kind of nice. I like that.
As I mentioned, I'm not a big serial or movie killer, so how should we imagine a whole filming? How long is it, or how much free time do you have during the filming? So what should we imagine?
So I mean, it depends. It depends. For season two and season three were quite different, just because when we were shooting season two, it was just right after COVID, and so there was a lot of different regulations and a lot of different challenges that came with shooting at the time we shot at. But for season three, I think we started shooting end of April, if I'm correct, and then we just finished shooting November, August, September, October. I think August. So it was about 5.5-ish months. Um, and in terms of like my involvement, it would be in little bursts. So I'd be maybe busy for a week, and then I'd have like a few weeks off, and then um, when there was stuff that was heavy with like, my character, or like me and Tamika, we'd be there for a bit longer of a stretch. But I mean, it depends on the show. Usually, the show and the show's budget. So I've worked on shows where we try to shoot a season in like 2-3 months, and you just try to cram. Yeah. So, and then yeah, for that show, for example, I was, it was maybe like, yeah, almost every like 5 days a week, just kind of go, 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 go. And for most TV shows, even Ginny and Georgia, you'd have days where maybe you're on set for 14, 15 hours. And then the crew's obviously there for much longer because they set up and then they take down. And then if you're shooting in a different location the next day, they have to travel, all that stuff. So, I mean, honestly, I think crews work so much harder. They're first in and then the last out as well. And then usually for the actor, you come in and you find stuff there. You find people there that have been working already for a couple hours. So, um, but even then, even as an actor, you can still be on set for like 14 hours, and you get delirious. There are days even on Ginny Georgia where like you get delirious. You're just like, what are we saying? Like, what are we even talking about? And then but those are nice because they kind of bring you together. Those longer days. Um, yeah. So, yeah, a show like this, maybe 5-ish months. Long days. Some days are heavier than most. So, yeah, it depends on kind of what the plan is.
After season 2, but before season 3, do you have best friends from the cast?
Yeah, I would say um, Kiki, who plays Alexandra, who's one of Tamika Bracia's friends. We actually shot a movie together last year, um, in between two and three. So I feel like we got closer because of that as well. And even Sydney, who also plays one of Bracia's friends. Like Toronto's very small. It's very big, but very small in terms of the film and TV world. So you work with a lot of people who you might have worked with before. So um, yeah, definitely seen some people from the set who uh, we just worked on other projects together. And yeah, I'd say even with Tamika, we would chat off off season two. Um, have we? I would almost say we've even gone to a couple parties together, but not yet. I think I've wanted to bring her out to a few parties, so we're definitely gonna make that happen. But yeah, I'd say Tamika, Kiki, Sydney are people that I talk to the most, probably outside of shooting.
Who is your favorite character from, for example, season 2?
Oh, that's tough. Okay, I'm not allowed to say Bracia because I feel like I'd have to say Bracia, or else I'd be in trouble with her. um, but outside of her, I'd probably say Maxine, who's played by Sarah. She's just like she's so fun every time she comes on screen. I feel like no matter what's happening, she just glues you to her. And just even as a person, Sarah is just like so sweet and so nice. Um, and I feel like in season three, you'll get to see a lot more of her. which is really, really cool. I was very, very happy and excited reading those scripts because um, I feel like you do get to see a lot of Ginny's friends in the show and a lot of like, what they're dealing with, obviously, but you kind of get a bit more in depth, which is really cool. Yeah, I just love Maxine's character as a whole, like the highs, the lows, and the quirkiness, and the dramaticness, and but she still manages to be a very good friend to all her friends and a good sister to her brother. Um, yeah, I think she's probably my favorite character.
And yeah, and also my favorite is also Maxine, and
Yeah.
I'm so envy because you can meet with her in live. And
Yeah.
if you were not an actor, what would you do? Would it be something creative or completely different?
Mm. So I always wish I would be a musician,
Wow.
but yeah, because when I was a kid, I actually took guitar lessons, um, and yeah, I don't know. I've always admired musicians and especially songwriters as well, because I think it's probably it's an amazing skill, and I've tried it. I don't think it's for me, but I think I can admire it heavily. But if it wasn't a creative job, ooh, a part of me just would want to be, I don't know, like maybe like a nomad, just doing, odd jobs and then traveling. Because I think that's something I would really love to do. Like I just recently had a layover in Amsterdam like a week and a half ago,
Wow.
and I've always wanted to visit Amsterdam. And it's yeah, there's a lot of places in the world I want to visit, but I had a 15-hour layover, and I spent I left the hotel at like 11 p.m. and I got back to my hotel at like 6 a.m. because I was just walking around and yeah, I was just exploring and I was like, wow, I would just love to just do this everywhere for like forever. So I think I don't know, I would just want to do odd jobs, maybe work in bars in different cities and just explore. I
You
think that
should
would be
explore whole Europe.
yeah, yeah, I know 100%. I feel like I've been to different countries. I want to explore. I've been to England. I think next I want to kind of go this way. I want to go Netherlands, Germany, even the Norse countries as well, and just kind of work my way east. Me and my friends just went to Brazil in the summer, and yeah. I want to go everywhere. I want to go everywhere. But Europe has this feel to it. It's very people are very. I mean, I guess maybe depending where you go, everywhere I've been, people are very very nice and accommodating. And I think I need to learn one European language as well, at least one, at least one. That's not English.
Yeah, I guess you should choose Spanish.
Spanish would be good. Spanish would be good. But we speak French in Canada, which I'm not very good at, but maybe French, maybe even Portuguese. I don't know. It all sounds great, so.
Portuguese is also great. I speak a little bit, so it's totally great
Oh,
also.
fala português? Português?
Sim, sim, falo português.
Okay. That's all I know.
Question: could you share to us a little secret from season 3, but about your character developing, for example?
What can I share? Mm, I guess what I can say is there may be highs and lows in Brian and Bracia's relationship, and there might be, ooh, there might be a milestone or two. Yeah, I think I can say that without getting in trouble. I think that's safe.
but now we know a little secret. So he was Agape from the cast of Ginny Georgia. Thank you so much for joining, and I really hope that you liked that interview.
Thank you so much for having me. Yeah, this was so fun, and your questions were amazing. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. And don't forget to watch season 3, I guess in the next year, of course.
Hmm. Yes, sometime. Date to be confirmed.
And thanks for again for watching. So hello, bye bye.